All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line once again, she's just becoming a part of the show at this point. Reina Garcia from Local 5, the sports director over there. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm calling you in on your day off, and I feel bad about it at this point.
Hey, this is an important thing. I wouldn't miss it.
Oh, there you go. Well, Renina, you had your first Cy-Hawk game this week, and real quick, what did you think of the whole rivalry this week?
Oh, it was so fun. It was really cool just to experience the atmosphere. We got out there pretty early in the morning. I think we got out there like 10 o'clock to do a Cy-Hawk game day live from Iowa City. And, I mean, the parking lots were already packed with tailgaters. I mean, it was just jumping from early on. I would have preferred the weather to be a little bit better, especially towards the end. We ended up getting soaked. But you know what? It is what it is. So we made it through.
Well, the reason we're having you on today is so let's go back to the beginning of the weekend. Of course, you had the Cy-Hawk game this weekend. Iowa State beats Iowa for the first time in a few years. I think it was 6 in a row, but 7 years because of the COVID year. They win 10-7 over Iowa, and hey, everything is looking good in Ames. Next thing you know, Saturday night comes around, and Nebraska loses to Georgia somebody or other, right?
I think Georgia Southern.
Is it Georgia Southern? I
like
probably
that.
should have had these notes.
One of the Georgia schools.
Okay, yeah. So that happens late that night, and come around to Sunday, Nebraska announces that they have officially fired. Yeah, Georgia Southern. Sorry, I was trying to stall waiting for my computer. They officially fire Scott Frost as their head coach after a few years. They start 1-2, and everybody, I think, knew this was coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, you had to. You can't lose that way to a school that you are more than expected to beat. So I don't think there was really, and when you think about his tenure there, it's been really, I think, underwhelming. So yeah, not a surprise at all.
So, but I think the surprising thing about it was everybody was waiting for what was it, October 1st? It was going to get cut in half, his buyout, and they're like, no, we're not waiting. Just take your money and leave. That's essentially what they did, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you know they knew it was more time to cut ties. When you're willing to lose about that much money just to be rid of him and wash your hands with the situation, I think that tells you how bad that situation really is.
All right, so going back, Saturday, Cy-Hawk game, Iowa State wins. Matt Campbell gets that first win over Iowa and Coach Ferentz. Saturday night, Nebraska tanks against Georgia Southern. Sunday comes around, fire Scott Frost, and then all of a sudden the rumors start circulating. And at the top of the list, at the top of the rumors, is Iowa State's own Matt Campbell may be interested in this job. What are you hearing?
I think it's kind of hard to tell right now. I mean, I don't see Matt Campbell really even addressing this until, he gets in front of the media on Tuesday at his weekly presser. And even then, he usually what he's been doing is kind of just immediately opening it up for questions. And I know for a fact he will get asked about it. So I don't expect to really even hear him address it until Tuesday. I doubt he will really tell us all what he's really thinking. Even if he is somewhat interested in this job, I doubt he comes out and says that. I mean, why would you? What does that tell your team if you're already looking at another job, especially 2 games into the season?
Yeah, and after you just beat your biggest rival too.
Yeah, they have a lot of momentum going, forward. So that would really, I think, kind of throw it's not something you want to bring. It's an unnecessary distraction, and I think he knows that. But when I first heard about the rumors, I kind of approached it took it with a grain of salt. I mean, I think what we've seen a lot of times whenever a head coaching job comes open, especially in the social media age, is you just throw all these names out there, right? I mean, all these sources come out of the woodworks, and it's kind of like you just throw all of these names out there, even if they're unrealistic, just to see what sticks and just trying to generate buzz. And I kind of feel like that is maybe what's happening here. It's not to say that Matt Campbell isn't interested in this job. He very well may be. But, I mean, when you think about his situation at Iowa State, it's a pretty good one, one that, why would you really want to leave that for the situation in Nebraska, which is totally in shambles right now? So for me, I was just I wasn't too quick to kind of jump on this. I really just kind of am kind of in the wait and see crowd, because I really doubt there will be any major developments from this, especially at this point in the season. Plus, that position is just not too enticing right now compared to what he has at Iowa State. I just think he's in a better position where he's at.
Who would have ever thought at some point that somebody would say somebody's in a better position at Iowa State coaching football than at Nebraska? And I don't mean that as a slight towards Iowa State. It's just they don't have the history that a Nebraska program has had over the years. And you're right. I don't think he's going to come out at a press conference or anything and say that I'm interested or we're talking about it, or I think he'll shut it down pretty quick. But the reason I wanted to reach out is because there was enough of the articles out there that were saying that he is interested, like there's that a little bit of interest there. He might be willing to hear him out. And that's what, to me, was one of the things that's like, he has rebuilt a program before from scratch with lesser means than Nebraska, which is Iowa State. He's a guy that, I don't know if Nebraska is one of those teams. I think at one point they said that he'd leave for like Ohio State or like Notre Dame or something. But listen, I mean, coach a couple years in Nebraska and you're set up for life. Whether you do good or not. I mean, they gave Scott Frost $14 million just to go away.
Yeah. No, and it makes sense. It makes sense for him to be a ideal candidate for this job. And like you mentioned, he's been able to kind of rebuild this program to his liking to make them relevant in a conference where you have some powerhouse programs. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you think about the means and just, Iowa State is not a big recruiting destination when you compared to who else they're going up against. So it totally makes sense why they would target him. And when you think of, even though Nebraska's situation is not great in terms of the success they've had recently, just compared to, their legacy, what it has been in the past, they're also being in the Big Ten. This is a conference that is probably in the best position in college sports right now, just considering the mega deal they just signed for media rights. And but and I've seen a lot of people talk about that as kind of what could be in play here in terms of making Nebraska more enticing. But I also think people should keep in mind that the Big 12, they're not in a horrible position either. I mean, Brett Yormark, the new commissioner, has already shown like has a really ambitious and forward-thinking approach for, what he wants to do with the Big 12, trying to get an early extension on their media rights deal. So, the Big 12 is also, it's not dead just because they're losing, Texas and OU. So I don't think that's, I think there's bright things ahead for the Big 12, and they could also, become or they're not going to, go down the toilet just like everyone is thinking, just because, they're losing those big marquee schools, if they can secure a big deal. So I don't think that, the situation that Matt Campbell has right now is just so bad in comparison to what he can maybe find if he were to, say this does happen, go to Nebraska.
Oh, no. And listen, if I was going to bet money on it right now, do I think Matt Campbell would leave for Nebraska? No, I don't. But it's one of those situations. I was talking to a buddy earlier today, and it was like, okay, what if pieces start moving? Like, what if somebody, big name does take the Nebraska job, and then that opens up this job over here, and then this person moves over here? I mean, there are some pieces in play, and he's a guy that people want at their school, Yeah,
no, that's absolutely true. I mean, plus, you also have to think about, like, as much as he, seems to really love this program and, how loyal he is, but it's like, people also want to be in the best opportunity for their careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think he's, a young enough coach and still has a lot of, great years in front of him. It's like, why wouldn't you want to explore opportunities that could kind of help you advance in your career? And sometimes that does mean leaving a place that you have helped kind of build up and that you've really grown attached to, and you become well respected and revered among that fan base. But I mean, we've seen it before, and so I'm like you. I also think it's not something you can totally rule out. I mean, if the opportunity comes and it's right in the right time and it's right for him, that could definitely very well happen. And I don't think a lot of people could fault him for that.
I think it's kind of in the same category of if you look back at Fred Hoiberg when he was at Iowa State. He left, there were some health concerns and he wanted to be an NBA coach before it was all said and done. But that's a dude that could have stayed at Iowa State as long as he wanted. And we're in that situation again with a Matt Campbell where, listen, I think he could stay at Iowa State as long as they wanted him, you know?
Yeah. No,
But,
I think you're absolutely right, which is a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that you don't get that every day. That's not something that everyone is able to accomplish, especially in the amount of time that he's been there. It usually takes, you know, at least a decade or so to kind of build that up. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, we don't know what Matt Campbell's aspirations are in terms of his, you know, career. If he wants something more, if he, you know, is hoping to get to a certain level, we don't know that. And so that very well could be in the back of his mind when, you know, his name starts to get brought up, because it kind of could have a snowball effect. You know, your name gets brought up here. Well, like you said, maybe something opens up over there and your name could pop up there, and that could kind of snowball. So, you know, it very well could be possible.
I mean, Reina, we live in a world where all of a sudden UCLA and USC became a member of the Big Ten out of nowhere. I mean, nothing is outside the realm of possibility here.
No, not at all. I mean, just considering how quickly the landscape is changing in college sports, I mean, and that's another thing you have to keep in mind too, is just there's so much unknown right now.
Yeah.
And so I think that will play a lot into it too. It's not the kind of old college sports that we're used to. There's just so many things that are changing about it, and quickly too, mind you. So yeah, I think that will definitely be a factor in it.
Sports director Reina Garcia from Local 5 on the line with me right now. We're talking about Matt Campbell and the rumors, I guess you would say, that there might be some interest in that Nebraska job. If you were going to, I know you're still, you know, kind of new to the area and whatnot. What's your gut telling you, though, in this situation? What do you think's going to happen?
I mean, as far as right now, I would say no. I think he, like you said, shoots it down. I think he stays at Iowa State because honestly, I think there's still maybe more to be accomplished there. That can be accomplished there that he has not quite yet done, although he's done a lot. I think there's still more that he could really do to really make himself establish himself as one of the top coaches.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible with the players that they are getting in this next recruiting class, the players that they currently have. I still think there's things on the table that, you know, he really wants to achieve for this program. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he stays around a little bit longer until a job that comes up that he really just cannot turn down.
Yeah, I've just never seen I remember when he was talking about Iowa State, they played there when he was the head coach at Toledo, and he just loved it, and he kind of acted like he fell in love with it, and I thought it was very genuine, and that's always why I've thought, you know what, this guy could stay at Iowa State for a while, but I don't know if it's another college program he leaves for. I would almost say if an NFL team came around, that would be the one I'd be worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every coach wants to try and see if they can make it at the NFL level. And, you know, some do, some don't. They just find that they have better success at the college level. But I think it's definitely really appealing to try it because you don't want to live with that what if. Yeah. What if I could have made it there? Because if you try and you fail, well, you can at least say, hey, you know, you always know that college is back there waiting for you. That's always an option. So I agree with you. I think if an NFL job came along, that's when I would be more inclined to think that he would definitely be interested in, for sure.
There you go. Reina Garcia, the sports director at Local 5. You heard it here first. Matt Campbell is leaving, and they're firing Brian Ferentz. She said it, everybody.
You're going to have me trending on Twitter.
I hope so. That would be awesome. Anyways, Reina, thank you so much for taking time on your day off. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.